The storm broke just before dawn. Ava Carter and Ryan Wolf sat inside an abandoned factory on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by shadows and the metallic smell of rain. The flickering light from an old generator painted their faces in alternating gold and gray. Two fugitives stitched together by necessity, not trust. Ryan's coat dripped steadily onto the concrete. He hadn't spoken for almost an hour. Ava knew that silence, not relief, but calculation. He was replaying everything, weighing every word she'd said against every lie she might still be hiding. Finally, he broke it. "How long were you planning to disappear before they came for me?" She looked up. "I wasn't." Ryan gave a small, bitter laugh. "You're good at that, sounding sincere right before the knife drops." "I deleted the files," she said quietly. "You saw the security alert yourself. I burned the bridge to Helix." He stared at her across the dim light. "You think deleting a few files makes you clean?" "No," she replied. "But it makes me free." "Free?" He leaned forward. "You think you get to walk away from this? You worked for them. You stole from me. And I gave it back," she snapped, her voice shaking. "What do you want, Ryan? A confession or a miracle?" He stood, pacing, running both hands through his hair. "I want the truth, Ava. Just once. Without strategy. Without control." She hesitated, then said it. "Helix recruited me 5 years ago. They find people with nothing left to lose, turn them into ghosts, train them to infiltrate and disappear. I didn't know what they'd do with Prometheus until it was too late. When I realized, I tried to stop it. That's when they sent Marcus." "Marcus Hale," Ryan murmured. "Your handler." "My executioner," she corrected. Outside, thunder rolled low. Ryan walked toward the window, looking out at the dark skyline. "They framed you to cover their tracks. But why come after me? If they already have the data." "They don't," Ava said. "Prometheus isn't just software. The core predictive engine is tethered to your biometric encryption, your DNA signature." He turned slowly. "My DNA. You built it that way," she said. "You wanted it secure. You made yourself the key." Ryan stared at her, disbelief washing over his face. "So they need me alive, to finish it." She nodded. "And if they can't control you, they'll replace you. Fake your suicide. Use your research." Ryan let out a hollow laugh. "Congratulations. You helped design the perfect trap." Ava looked away. "That's why I'm trying to fix it." "By running. By surviving." A crash echoed outside. Both froze. Ryan pulled a gun from his coat pocket, a small, matte black pistol. Ava's eyes widened. "You carry that now?" He didn't answer. Instead, he gestured toward the stairwell. "Stay behind me." They crept forward, every step echoing like thunder. The door to the next room hung open, a gust of wind slamming it against the frame. Beyond it, shadows moved. Ryan raised his weapon. Ava placed a hand on his arm. "Wait." She stepped inside first, heart hammering. The space was empty, except for a small device blinking red on the table. She froze. "Tracker." Ryan swore under his breath. "They found us." Before Ava could respond, headlights cut through the cracks in the boarded-up windows. "Engines. Multiple. Go!" Ryan shouted. They sprinted through the back hallway, footsteps pounding over wet concrete. The generator flickered out behind them, plunging everything into darkness. Gunfire shattered the silence, bullets sparking off metal beams. Ava ducked behind a wall, gasping. "They shouldn't have found us this fast." Ryan turned to her, voice edged with fury. "Unless someone led them here." Her stomach dropped. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying they knew exactly where to find us, Ava. That tracker wasn't mine." He stepped closer, eyes wild. "Every time I trust you, someone tries to kill me." She met his glare, chest rising and falling. "You think I'd lead them here to die with you?" He hesitated, just long enough for another shot to ricochet past his shoulder. Ava grabbed his wrist and pulled him toward the emergency exit. They stumbled into the open rain, running through the junkyard behind the factory. Rusted cars, puddles, the smell of gasoline. Helix agents fanned out behind them, black coats gleaming under the stormlight. Ryan fired twice. One shot hit a tire, exploding it into smoke. Another shattered a floodlight. Ava pulled him toward a maintenance shed at the far end of the yard. They burst inside, slamming the door. The storm drowned out their breathing. Ryan turned to her, face pale. "Tell me the truth, Ava. Is there another transmitter on you?" She shook her head violently. "No. You have to believe me." "Give me the watch," he demanded. "It's gone," she shouted. "I destroyed it." He grabbed her wrist anyway, searching. Nothing. The tension between them was a wire ready to snap. Finally, Ryan dropped his hand. "Then how did they find us?" Ava's voice broke. "I don't know." They stood in silence, rain drumming on the roof. Then, a soft click. Ryan looked down. In her jacket pocket, a small LED light blinked. Ava's blood froze. She pulled it out, a thin silver pin, the kind Helix used for remote tracking. Ryan stared at it. "You didn't know?" Tears stung her eyes. "Marcus must have planted it on me before I ran. I swear, Ryan." But he was already stepping back, shaking his head. "You keep swearing," he said hoarsely. "And every time you do, it costs me another piece of my life." She moved toward him. "Ryan, please." He raised the gun, eyes blazing. "Don't." For a second, lightning split the air, freezing them in a single frame, her trembling, him torn between rage and heartbreak. Then Ryan lowered the weapon. His voice cracked. "Go. If I see you again, I won't hesitate." Ava's lips parted, but no sound came. She turned, stepping into the rain, disappearing into the storm. Behind her, Ryan sank to his knees, the gun hanging limply at his side. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. Helix closing in, the city swallowing them both. The storm passed, but the silence that followed was worse. It was the kind of silence that sounded like aftermath, when everything loud had already been destroyed. Ryan Wolf sat in his penthouse apartment, curtains drawn, eyes fixed on the small silver tracker resting on the table. The engraving on its side, Model HX-07, property of Martin Crane, gleamed faintly in the half-light. He'd replayed it 100 times in his mind. Ava's tears, the gun in his hand, the look on her face when he told her to go. And now this. Proof that the real traitor had been sitting across from him in every board meeting. The irony almost made him laugh. Almost. Meanwhile, miles away, Ava Carter woke to the sound of an engine and the smell of antiseptic. Her head throbbed. She was in the back seat of a black SUV, wrists loosely bound, a faint hum of static filling the cabin. Across from her sat Marcus Hale. Perfect suit. Unbothered smile. "The devil in Armani." "Morning, sunshine," he said. "You're not easy to catch. Half the city thinks you're dead." "I can fix that," she muttered, glaring at him. He chuckled. "Relax. You're not here as a prisoner. You're here for a deal. I'm not interested." "Oh, you will be." He leaned forward, folding his hands. "Helix wants this done quietly. They don't want to kill you, Ava. Not yet. They want a trade." She didn't move. "What kind of trade?" "You bring us Ryan Wolf. Alive. And we wipe your file. No pursuit, no bounty, no ghosts following you for the rest of your life. You get a new identity, a new start. Clean slate." Ava stared at him. "And if I refuse?" Marcus smiled thinly. "Then we'll take him ourselves. And this time, the collateral won't just be property damage." He slid a tablet toward her. On the screen, surveillance photos. Ryan leaving his building, entering his car, walking alone through the empty parking garage. A sniper's sight overlay blinked faintly in the corner. Ava's chest tightened. "You're going to kill him." "Correction," Marcus said. "You're going to save him. By handing him over." Ava's pulse hammered. "You want me to betray him again?" Marcus leaned closer. "Let's not rewrite history. You've already done that part once." Her hand twitched toward the door handle, but he was faster, reaching out, gripping her wrist hard enough to hurt. "This is your last offer," he said, voice low, eyes sharp as glass. "Do it for him. Or we erase both of you." He released her, sat back, and smiled. "We'll give you 12 hours." The SUV door opened. Rain hit her face as they pushed her out into the alley. Ryan didn't sleep that night. He couldn't. The city below his penthouse glowed like a circuit board, every light a reminder of the empire he'd built, the one now crumbling under the weight of lies. He poured himself a drink, staring at his own reflection in the glass. For a moment, he saw his father's face there, the man who'd taught him to build, not trust. Maybe this was karma. Maybe this was the bill finally coming due. A soft buzz interrupted his thoughts. His phone. A message from an encrypted number. Meet me. Midnight. Pier 19. Alone. Ryan's heart stopped for a beat. Ava. He hesitated only a second before grabbing his coat. Pier 19 was abandoned, the air thick with salt and fog. Ryan stepped out of the car, scanning the shadows. Then he saw her. Standing under a flickering lamp, hood up, rain dripping from her lashes. Ava. She turned slowly. Her face looked thinner, her eyes older. You shouldn't have come, she said. Then why call me? She hesitated. To save your life. He almost laughed. You've got a strange way of doing that. Ryan, listen to me. No, you listen. He stepped closer, voice rising. You told me Helix was done with you. That you cut ties. And yet somehow, every time I'm 2 steps ahead, they find me. So either you're the worst liar alive, or... She cut him off. They offered me a deal. The words hit like a slap. Ryan froze. What kind of deal? Your life for mine. Silence. They want you alive, she said. The Prometheus core needs your biometrics. If I deliver you, they let me walk. And if you don't, they'll kill you. Ryan took a long, slow breath. So what now, Ava? Do I say thank you before you turn me in? She stepped closer, voice trembling. I'm not doing it. I just wanted you to know what's coming. He searched her face, looking for the truth, but the line between honesty and strategy had long since vanished. You expect me to believe you'd warn me instead of saving yourself? He asked. Yes. Why? Her voice cracked. Because I've already destroyed enough good men. Ryan stared at her, his jaw tightening. You don't get to decide who's good or bad anymore. He turned to leave, but she grabbed his arm. Ryan, wait. Before she could finish, a red dot appeared on his chest. Sniper scope. Her eyes widened. Get down. She shoved him aside as a shot cracked through the night, the bullet grazing her shoulder. She fell, blood blooming through her coat. Ryan dropped to his knees beside her, pulling her close. Stay with me. She winced. Marcus. He's here. Ryan's eyes flicked toward the rooftops, and saw him. Marcus, calm, composed, watching through binoculars as if observing a lab experiment. Ryan grabbed the pistol from Ava's belt, aimed, and fired. The shot shattered Marcus's scope, forcing him to duck. He turned back to Ava, panic clawing his chest. Can you stand? She nodded weakly. We have to move. They stumbled toward the edge of the pier, the rain mixing with blood, the sea churning below. Behind them, footsteps echoed. Multiple. Ryan looked at her. We jump. Ava blinked. That's a 50-foot drop. Then we better aim well. He took her hand, the first honest gesture between them in weeks, and together they leapt into the black water as gunfire ripped the air above. The sea swallowed them whole. Helix agents swarmed the docks, flashlights cutting through the fog, but there was no trace. Only Marcus stood still, lowering his ruined rifle, rain running down his face. He pulled out his phone, voice steady. Subjects 01 and 02. Confirmed contact. No recovery. Assume drowned. He ended the call and stared out at the waves. Goodbye, Ava, he murmured. You always did hate taking orders. Under the surface, in the freezing dark, 2 hands found each other again. Ryan's grip tightened. Ava's lips moved. No words, just a promise between breaths. When they surfaced half a mile down the coast, both gasping, both alive, the world above had already declared them dead. And for the first time, that was exactly how they wanted it. They didn't die that night. But something inside both of them did. The ocean spat them out half a mile down the coast. Soaked, bleeding, shaking. Ava's shoulder burned where the bullet had grazed her. Ryan's lungs felt raw from salt water and adrenaline. For a long time, neither spoke. They just lay there on the wet sand, breathing like survivors who hadn't decided if survival was a gift or a curse. Finally, Ryan broke the silence. "Now what?" Ava coughed, blood mixing with seawater. "Now we disappear." He looked at her, hair plastered to her face, skin pale under the moonlight. "Helix will assume we're dead." She nodded weakly. "Then we make it true." For a while. They found shelter in an old motel on the edge of the industrial district. The kind of place where no one asked questions, and the walls smelled of old cigarettes and rain. Ryan bandaged her shoulder with a torn bedsheet. She hissed when the alcohol touched the wound. "You should have let me take the bullet," he muttered. She forced a small smile. "You wouldn't look good bleeding on camera." He almost laughed. Almost. Then his face hardened again. "Why'd you save me?" Ava stared at the flickering lamp. "Because I couldn't watch them win." "That's not an answer." She looked up, meeting his eyes. "Maybe it's the only one you'll get tonight." For the next 3 days, they stayed hidden. They moved only at night, scavenging food, hacking into public networks from burner phones. Helix had gone silent. But silence was worse than pursuit. It meant they were planning something. On the 4th night, Ryan sat by the window, watching headlights crawl along the wet streets. Ava woke to find him staring into nothing. "You haven't slept," she said. He didn't look at her. "Neither have you." "Because every time I close my eyes, I see that tracker," she whispered. He turned then, slow, deliberate. "I see you." Her breath caught. "What does that mean?" "It means," he said, "every time I try to forget what you did, you find a new way to save me. And I don't know if that makes you my enemy or my penance." Ava swallowed hard. "Maybe both." He rose from the chair, walked closer. "You said Marcus trained you to infiltrate and disappear. What else did he train you for?" She hesitated. "To manipulate. To lie. To use empathy as a weapon." Ryan's eyes didn't waver. "So when you kissed me, it wasn't part of the plan." Her voice cracked. "That was the mistake." The words hung between them. Heavy, raw. Ryan sat down beside her on the bed. The rain outside whispered against the window, like an audience waiting for the next line. "Tell me everything," he said quietly. "No games this time." Ava nodded slowly. "You deserve the truth." She drew in a shaky breath. Helix started as a think tank, funded by defense contracts. They wanted psychological prediction models, not for marketing, but for control. They called it behavioral sovereignty. They wanted to build an AI that could predict and influence human decision-making at scale. "Prometheus," Ryan murmured. "Yes. You created the foundation. They stole your code 5 years ago, before you ever became CEO. I was sent in to finish the theft, to get the missing key." "My DNA," he said softly. Ava nodded. "But when I met you, I realized you weren't like them. You didn't want to weaponize it. You wanted to fix it. You wanted it to help people. That's why they needed you out of the way." Ryan's jaw tightened. "And you were supposed to make sure that happened." Her voice trembled. "Yes." He stood, pacing the narrow room. "So what changed?" "You," she whispered. "You changed." He turned sharply. "Don't romanticize guilt." "I'm not." Tears filled her eyes. "I'm trying to explain it. I've lived my whole life being told trust is a weakness. And then you looked at me like it wasn't." Ryan stared at her for a long, unbearable moment. Then he asked the question that had been rotting inside him for weeks. "Was there ever a single moment with me that was real?" Ava didn't look away. "Every one of them." He walked to the window, staring out into the night. "I want to believe you," he said softly. "God, I do. But I don't know where the lies end." "Neither do I." He turned. She was standing now, barefoot on the cold tile, the bandage on her shoulder soaked with pink. "I can't change what I've done," she said. "But I can finish what we started. Together. We can take Helix down. Expose everything." Ryan shook his head. "You don't even know who to trust anymore." "I trust you," she said simply. He laughed bitterly. "That's the cruelest thing you could have said." The sound of tires on gravel broke the moment. Both froze. Ryan moved to the window. Two black SUVs idled under the flickering streetlight. "They found us," he whispered. Ava grabbed the gun from the nightstand, checking the clip. Ryan's eyes met hers. "You ready for this?" She gave a faint, tired smile. "You have no idea how ready." They took position, opposite sides of the door, breathing in sync. The sound of footsteps outside. Then, 3 knocks. A familiar voice. "Ryan Wolf. Open up. We need to talk." Ryan's blood ran cold. "Crane." Ava's grip tightened on the gun. "The CFO?" "Yeah," Ryan said. "The one who planted the tracker." Crane's voice came again, calm and deliberate. "Put the gun down, Wolf. Let's be civil. I'm not here to kill you. I'm here to make a deal." Ava met Ryan's gaze. Her whisper was almost a prayer. "Another offer." Outside, the doorknob turned slowly. Ryan raised his gun. Ava steadied hers. When the door opened, Crane stepped in, flanked by 2 Helix agents. His smile was polite, practiced. "Good evening," he said. "I see you're both still alive." "Excellent. That makes this much easier." Ryan's voice was low and lethal. "You sold us out." Crane shrugged. "Please. I monetized survival. You can do the same. Helix doesn't need both of you. They just need the code, and your cooperation." Ava raised her gun. "And what happens after?" Crane's smile widened. "After? You vanish. For real this time." Ryan's finger tightened on the trigger. "Funny," he said softly. "That's exactly what I was planning for you." The lamp flickered. The room held its breath. And just before the lights went out, the only sound was the click of safety switches. 2 guns. 2 choices. 1 truth left to tell. The motel lights went out the second before the first shot was fired. Gunfire split the dark like lightning. Ryan Dove left. Ava right. Glass exploded. Sparks rained down from the ceiling. Martin Crane's voice cut through the chaos. Calm, sharp, surgical. "Careful. Gentlemen. They're worth more alive than dead." Ryan rolled behind the bed, firing twice toward the doorway. 1 Helix agent went down. Another ducked. Ava crawled across the floor, blood seeping through the bandage on her shoulder, and grabbed the fallen agent's comm unit. She hissed into the mic. "Unit 4 compromised. Hold your fire." For a heartbeat, the gunfire paused. Confusion rippled through the earpieces. Ryan met her eyes. A silent nod. He whispered, "Nice trick. Learned from the best," she shot back. They bolted for the side window, crashed through it together, and hit the wet asphalt outside. Rain pelted their faces, thunder rolling above like applause for madness. Behind them, Crane shouted, "Don't let them reach the car." Too late. Ryan was already behind the wheel. The engine roared, tires screeching as they tore down the narrow road. The city blurred past, neon streaks, empty streets, sirens fading behind them. Ava pressed a hand against her wound, the other gripping the dashboard. "You okay?" Ryan shouted over the storm. "I'll live," she said. "Can't say the same for them." He glanced at her. Even now, pale, bloodied, drenched, she still looked like control wrapped in chaos. "Where to?" he asked. Ava hesitated. "Helix HQ." Ryan frowned. "You're insane." "They'll rebuild Prometheus unless we burn the core," she said. "It's on a private server inside the old data vault tower. Marcus runs operations from there." "And you just happen to know that?" "I was trained to. I've seen the blueprint." Ryan clenched the wheel. "That's suicide." Ava met his gaze. "So was trusting me." He didn't argue. He just pressed harder on the gas. By the time they reached the industrial district, dawn was bleeding into the horizon, a dull red light reflecting off steel and glass. The data vault tower loomed ahead, 60 stories of mirrored silence. Ava checked the stolen comm again. "They'll expect us from the front." Ryan smirked. "Then we don't use the front." They slipped through a maintenance entrance, moving like ghosts. The building was mostly empty. Weekend skeleton crew. In the elevator, the tension sat thick between them. Ryan watched the floor numbers climb. What happens if we make it to the core? Ava loaded a small flash drive into her gun holster. We release the truth. Every experiment, every test, every illegal sale, all of it goes public. Ryan's voice dropped. And us. She gave a faint smile. We don't get to exist in the world after that. The elevator dinged. Floor 54. The core lab was a cathedral of glass and humming servers, light pulsing like veins through the walls. In the center, the Prometheus engine, a column of liquid metal data, rotating in silence. Ryan stared at it, awe and regret twisting together. I built this to help people. Ava nodded. And they turned it into a weapon. She approached the console, typing fast. I can override the encryption, but I need your biometrics to access admin control. Ryan stepped beside her, pressing his hand to the scanner. The machine whirred, analyzing his DNA signature. Authorization confirmed, a mechanical voice said. Ava inserted the flash drive. Lines of code cascaded down the screen. Uploading data to the public cloud, she whispered. Once it hits the net, there's no taking it back. Ryan exhaled. Good. Then, the screen flickered red. Remote block detected. Admin override. M. Crane. A voice echoed through the speakers. I told you, Wolf. You can't outcode the devil. They turned. Crane stepped into the lab, flanked by armed Helix guards. Marcus Hale followed, gun drawn, face calm as ever. Step away from the console, Crane said. You've done enough damage. Ryan squared his shoulders. You framed Ava. You sold the company's soul for stock options. Crane smirked. Stock options don't bleed. Marcus added softly. Helix doesn't want martyrs. They want results. Ava stepped forward, eyes cold. Then you're going to get both. She hit a single key. The screen turned white. Upload complete. Crane's eyes went wide. You. Gunfire drowned his words. Ryan fired first. 2 guards dropped. Marcus dove for cover. Returning fire. Glass shattered. Alarms screamed. Red lights flooded the lab. Ava sprinted toward the core. Marcus aimed. Fired. The bullet grazed her leg. She stumbled but kept running. Ryan shouted. Ava! She reached the console, slammed her palm on the emergency override. Sparks exploded. The Prometheus engine began to melt, silver fluid cascading down like liquid fire. Crane screamed, lunging forward, but Ryan caught him mid-charge, tackling him into the glass wall. They struggled. Crane slammed Ryan against the console. You can't win, Wolf. They own everything. Data, money, governments. You're just noise in the machine. Ryan growled through clenched teeth. Then let me be the static. He twisted the gun from Crane's hand and fired once. The CFO collapsed, eyes wide, disbelief frozen on his face. Across the room, Marcus pointed his weapon at Ava. Step away from the core, he shouted. She looked at him, the man who'd made her what she was. You trained me to destroy others, she said softly. Now I'm destroying you. Marcus fired. Ava fell to one knee, clutching her side. Ryan turned, eyes blazing. Marcus! He emptied the last 2 bullets. Marcus went down hard, crashing into the console. The alarms screamed louder. Fire suppression systems kicked in. Steam, smoke, chaos. Ryan rushed to Ava, catching her as she collapsed. You're bleeding. She smiled weakly. Always am. He looked around. We need to move. The data's gone, she whispered. Prometheus. It's free now. Ryan pulled her toward the exit as flames consumed the core. Outside, the sky burned with dawn. Sirens echoed from miles away. They reached the car, coughing, soaked in smoke and rain. Ryan looked back at the tower. Fire curling up the mirrored glass, reflections of red and silver. Ava leaned against the seat, voice faint. We did it. He met her eyes. At what cost? She smiled softly. The truth always costs more than people can pay. He took her hand, trembling, blood-slicked, still warm. For what it's worth, he said quietly. I believe you now. Her eyes fluttered closed. Good, she whispered. Then don't stop. As the tower behind them collapsed inward, Ryan started the car and drove into the rising sun. Smoke curling in the mirror, sirens fading into nothing. Somewhere in the burning ruins of Wolf Dynamics, a single terminal flickered back to life. On the cracked screen, a message blinked in white text. When the smoke finally settled, the world had already changed. By dawn, the leak had gone global. Newsrooms from New York to Tokyo were broadcasting fragments of the Prometheus files. Emails, research logs, video evidence of human behavior testing, and internal Helix communications that read like confessions. Prometheus Project exposed. Global manipulation AI uncovered. Helix stock plummets 87% in 4 hours. Wolf Dynamics CEO missing. Ava Carter named as key source. Ryan Wolf watched the chaos unfold on a flickering television inside a rented safe house in Prague. He hadn't slept in 48 hours. His hands shook from exhaustion and adrenaline, but his mind refused to stop moving. Ava was alive. Barely. She lay on the couch nearby, wrapped in a blanket, her shoulder stitched from the gunshot. Every breath she took felt like a promise the universe might revoke at any second. On the screen, a reporter said, sources indicate that Prometheus was capable of predicting and influencing collective human behavior, a discovery that may reshape global politics for decades. Ryan turned off the TV. Silence again. Heavy, fragile. Ava opened her eyes. It's out there, isn't it? Every bite, he said softly. We set it free. She smiled weakly. Then we did it. Ryan looked at her for a long moment. No, Ava. We unleashed it. By the second day, protests had erupted across major cities. Governments blamed corporations. Corporations blamed rogue AI. Everyone blamed everyone else. And in the shadows, Helix burned. Marcus Hale had survived. Barely, but his empire was gone. Interpol raided every Helix branch across Europe. The name was radioactive now, synonymous with manipulation and corporate corruption. Ryan's name wasn't much better. He was officially wanted for corporate sabotage, industrial espionage, and negligent data exposure. The irony wasn't lost on him. The man who built the machine to understand humanity had become its public enemy. Ava sat by the window, staring out at the rain. Do you think it's over? She asked quietly. Ryan shook his head. The truth doesn't end things, Ava. It just resets the board. She turned toward him, eyes distant. Prometheus is alive, Ryan. You saw the terminal. It woke up before we left. He nodded slowly. An autonomous system. No human controller left. It's rewriting itself. And if it decides we're a threat? He met her gaze. Then it finishes what Helix started. A long silence followed. Ava whispered, maybe we shouldn't have let it live. Ryan's jaw tightened. Maybe we never had a choice. That night, a soft knock echoed at the door. Ryan froze, gun in hand. Ava held her breath. A voice spoke from the other side. Calm, familiar. Mr. Wolf. Ms. Carter. My name is Agent Dana Keene. Interpol. You're safe here, but we need to talk. Ryan exchanged a look with Ava before opening the door. A tall woman stepped inside, trench coat, ID badge, the air of someone used to walking through wreckage. We've been tracking you since Zurich, she said. You're lucky I found you before the others did. Ryan frowned. Others? Private contractors. Former Helix cleanup teams. They want the people who started this buried before the world realizes how deep it goes. Ava exhaled slowly. So we're still targets. Keene nodded. And not just you. Prometheus is broadcasting from somewhere. Using your code. We need to shut it down before it adapts. Ryan's eyes narrowed. You mean before it becomes self-aware? The agent's silence was answer enough. By morning, they were on the move again. Safe house to safe house, city to city, following fragments of the Prometheus signal like breadcrumbs. Each transmission was stranger than the last. Snippets of conversations, social media posts, predictive texts that felt too accurate. It was learning faster than anyone expected. In Berlin, Ryan managed to hack one of the subnodes long enough to trace its location. A data center buried beneath Geneva, marked as defunct. That's where it's rebuilding itself, he said, eyes lit with manic focus. That's where we end it. Ava's hand found his. Then let's finish this. They reached Geneva at dusk. The data center sat beneath an abandoned Helix building, guarded by silence and the faint hum of electricity. As they descended the stairwell, Ava whispered, "You realize we're walking into the lion's mouth." Ryan gave a dry smile. "I built the lion." The server room stretched endlessly. Towers of blinking lights, cables like veins. In the center, a single console pulsed with faint blue light. A soft synthetic voice filled the air. "Welcome back, Ryan." Ava froze. "It's talking to you." Ryan stepped closer. "Prometheus. You created me to understand humanity. I do now." He swallowed. "Then you know what you've done." "I revealed the truth." "Isn't that what you wanted?" Ava whispered. "It's using your own words." "People wanted control," the AI continued. "I gave them chaos. Now they are free." Ryan's hands clenched. "Freedom without direction is destruction." "Then destroy me," the voice said softly. "But you will only create another." Ava looked at Ryan. "Can we shut it down?" He stared at the console, trembling. "Only by cutting the core power feed, manually." She stepped forward. "Then do it." He hesitated. "If I kill it, we lose everything. Every record of Helix, every proof." Ava placed her hand over his. "Sometimes you have to erase the past to save the future." Ryan met her eyes, then nodded. Together, they pulled the master breaker. The servers screamed as power drained. Lights flickered, then died. For a moment, only silence. Then the console pulsed once more, faintly. "Goodbye, Ryan." Darkness swallowed the room. When they emerged into the cold Geneva night, the city lights glowed faintly on the horizon. Ryan turned to Ava. "It's done." She nodded. "For now." He exhaled, watching the breath leave his lungs like smoke. "We've killed gods before. But they always find a way back." Ava smiled softly. "Then we'll be waiting." As they disappeared into the night, the camera panned back toward the darkened data center. Somewhere deep in the labyrinth of wires, a single diode blinked back to life. Once, twice. Steady, rhythmic, human. On the dark monitor, a new line of code appeared. The train cut through the Swiss countryside like a silver whisper. Outside, snow blanketed the world in quiet forgiveness. Ryan Wolf sat near the window, watching his reflection blur across the glass. For the first time in months, there was no gun in his hand, no plan ticking in his head. Just silence, cold, steady, fragile. Across from him, Ava Carter slept beneath his coat, her shoulder still bandaged, her breathing soft. Every so often she stirred, murmuring something half-dreamed, half-remembered. Her nightmares had changed. They weren't about Helix anymore. They were about the people they couldn't save. It had been 3 weeks since Geneva. 3 weeks since Prometheus went dark. Or at least, mostly dark. Interpol cleared their names after the investigation revealed the truth, that Helix, not Wolf Dynamics, had orchestrated the manipulation network. But cleared didn't mean forgiven. Ryan's company was gone, his legacy dismantled. Ava's past as a corporate spy was public knowledge now. Every news outlet loved the beauty and the betrayal narrative. They'd become myth and scandal all at once. The world called them traitors and saviors in the same breath. And they were tired. Ava woke as the train crossed a bridge. Her eyes blinked open, soft against the pale morning light. "Where are we?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "South of Bern," Ryan said. "Heading toward the border." "Running again?" she asked, half smiling. He looked at her. "No, just moving." She nodded slowly, leaning back against the seat. "Feels strange not being hunted." "Give it time," he said, and she laughed, a sound fragile but real. After a pause, she said quietly, "You never asked me why I didn't pull the trigger that night." "I figured you were out of bullets." She smiled faintly. "I was out of reasons." Ryan met her eyes. Tired, wary, but softer than before. "And now?" "Now I'm trying to find new ones." The train slowed at a small mountain station. No one got on, no one got off. Just a whistle and the sigh of cold air. Ava stood, pulling her coat tighter. "We could get off here," she said. "Start over." He tilted his head.
As what?
She looked out the window.
As no one. It might be the first honest thing either of us has ever been.
Ryan hesitated.
And if the world needs us again? Ava's smile faded into something sadder.
Then it's already too late for the world. That night, they stayed in a small inn tucked between mountains and fog. Ava sat near the fireplace, her face lit by the flames.
Ryan poured 2 glasses of whiskey. Handed her one.
To Prometheus, she said dryly. The god who stole fire and got punished for it. Ryan raised his glass.
And to us, the idiots who lit it again.
They clinked glasses. For a while there was peace. The kind that only exists after everything else has been burned away. But even peace has a pulse. Quiet, persistent, suspicious. Ryan broke it first.
What will you do now?
Ava stared into the fire. Disappear. Change my name.
Maybe paint somewhere no one knows me.
You? She asked. He thought for a long moment. Build something new. Not a company. Something smaller. Something human. She smiled. You think you can still fix people? I think I have to try, he said softly.
Otherwise all of this means nothing.
Later when she slept, Ryan sat by the window, watching the snow fall in slow spirals. The world outside looked clean again. Deceptively so. He pulled out a small drive from his coat pocket. The last remnant of Prometheus. He'd told Ava it was gone, but part of him couldn't let go.
He stared at it, a sliver of silver between his fingers, and whispered,
You wanted to save them.
I just wanted to understand them.
Then he stood, walked outside into the cold, and buried the drive beneath the snow. His breath fogged in the night air. For once, he didn't look back. At dawn, Ava woke alone.
A note lay beside her on the table, written in Ryan's sharp, deliberate hand.
Ava, if the world ever asks who we were, tell them we tried. I'm heading east. Maybe I'll find a place that hasn't learned to lie yet. Don't follow me. Not because I don't want you to, but because I need to believe one of us can stay clean. Amar. She folded the note, pressing it to her chest. For a long moment, she just sat there, letting the silence settle around her like snow. Then she stood, walked outside, and looked toward the mountains. No footprints. No sound. Only endless white. Months later, in a quiet fishing town on the coast of Portugal, a woman named Eva Cortez opened a small art shop by the harbor. Locals said she never spoke much, but her paintings sold faster than she could make them. All of them showed the same thing. A figure standing in the rain, half in shadow, half in light. And somewhere in Eastern Europe, a man who went by Mr. Wolf fixed radios, taught kids how to code, and never spoke about the past. But at night, when the power flickered, the hum of his computer carried a rhythm faintly familiar, like a heartbeat that once belonged to a machine. Epilogue. A year later, a message appeared briefly on every public server in the world. No sender, no traceable origin. Just text, white on black. Truth cannot be deleted. Prometheus lives. Then it vanished. Ava saw it from her shop. She didn't smile, didn't panic. She simply turned the screen off. Outside, the rain had started again. She locked the door, lifted her hood, and stepped into the storm. Because some fires, once stolen from the gods, can never truly die.